Hello friends, today we will learn how to locate the web elements on a web page using Selenium WebDriver. Selenium has different locators like you can see here, 8 locators are listed here. You can use any of this locator to find a web element using Selenium. Alright, first of all, you can go to techlistic.com, click on the Selenium link. This will navigate you to the Selenium tutorial, and here you can find different blogs on different topics. So our topic is locators and find the element commands. Okay, let's navigate to here. All right. So you can see there are different Selenium locators: ID, class name, name, link text, partial link text, tag name, XPath, and CSS selector. So when you do automation of any web page or any web application using Selenium, you can use any one of this locator, whichever is available and whichever is unique, right? The locator should be unique if you are using it for the automation purpose. So here we will take advantage of this demo sign up form, which is present on TechListic. This sign up demo form has all the web elements which generally a registration page does. So we will try to find the elements of all these web elements. So how can we do that? Let's start it. Now we are on this page, and I will try to extract the web elements. For that you have to click right click on the web page and click on inspect. Alright, this will open up a console on the bottom of this page using so this console is basically displaying the HTML code of this web page, and using this HTML code we will be finding the different locator IDs. Okay, so first of all, click on this cursor and navigate your cursor to the element for which you want to find the locator ID. Click on it. Okay, I clicked on this text box, first name, and it has highlighted this code. So you can see input name is equals to first name and then some styling. So you can see name attribute is present for this input box. So definitely we can use the name attribute. So we have to see which attribute is present out of all these, and whichever is present we can use that one. So we can see name is present and its value is first name. So we can simply pick the name for identifying this first name text box. How we are going to use it in the Selenium code? So we have a command driver.findElement by dot name, and here we will write first name. Okay, so how this will work? Let me just driver.findElement by dot name, and here the value will come up as this one, first name. You can copy from here. Yeah, right. Okay, let's find out the locator for the next text box, which is last name. Again, I will click on the cursor and move my cursor to this text box and click on it. Now it has highlighted this code, and here you can see the attribute name is present and the value of the name is last name, right? So this excuse me, this means we can locate this text box using the name attribute, and in this case the value will be last name, right? Okay, we have found the locators for first two text boxes. Let's find the locator for the radio button for gender. Okay, let's move your cursor to this radio button and click on it. Now you can see the attributes which are present for these radio button are ID and name. So we have two attributes present, ID also and the name also. So you can pick any one of it. Either you can automate it using ID or you can automate it using the name attribute. So we have already used the name attribute, so we will be using this radio button with ID. Okay, so what will be the command for it? Driver dot find element by dot ID, then in double quotes give the ID value, bracket close. Yeah, this will find the radio button male. All right, let's find out the locators for these radio buttons, years of experience. So here you can also see ID and name are present. So two attributes are present for these uh, radio buttons. You can pick any one of it. Either you can go with the ID or you can go with the name. So let's say I want to click on the radio button present for year of experience 5. I'll click on it and I will see what's the ID of it, exp4. Okay, so how can I find it? Uh, Driver dot find element by dot ID exp4. I'm not doing any operation as of now on these IDs. I'm just writing them down. We can perform the operations later. We can click on it by simply use the click command. So click on the this radio button. If I want to click on the mail radio button, I can use dot click with this, right? Similarly, we have the send keys command for entering the text. We can enter any text value, right? These are the operations which we can perform along with these locators, locator IDs. Okay, let's find out the locator ID for this date picker. So we have ID present for it. Only ID attribute is present. No other attribute is present, right? So we can simply use by.id and the value of the ID is date picker. So this is kind of a text box. So the command used alongside this would be send keys and value of the date, whatever date you want to insert, right? This command will enter the date. Now let's find the locator for this checkbox. So we have ID present or name present. So we can pick any of this attribute, either ID or name. Similarly, for the second checkbox, we have ID present and name present, right? Let's move to the automation tools checkboxes. We have ID present, ID is tool 0 and name is tool. ID and name is present. For this, we can use any one of it. Again, ID and name used for it, right? Now the next thing is a select box. This is an interesting thing. Let's find out what attribute is present for it. So this is a select box, class is present, ID is present, and name is present. So you can pick any of it, class, ID, or name. You can use any one of uh, these ID locators for performing any operation on this select box. And this is a multi-select box. Let's see what attributes are present for this multi-select box. Again, class is present and ID is present. So you can either pick class or ID. For this button, upload button, class is present, ID is present, and name is present. All the three attributes are present. You can pick any one of it to automate this. Then this link, download link. For this download link, do not have present any of it. So in this case, if ID, class, or name is not present, in that case either we have to use XPath or the Css Selector or any of the other attribute, right? Okay, let's first take a look at the button. For button, class is present, ID is present, and name is present. So you can use any of the one, and you can perform the submit button, submit action, or the click action, right? So this is a sample code for the same. We have a Selenium WebDriver code. You can see here. So driver.find element, this command will find the element present on the web page by the attribute that you provide. By.name means first name. You have provided the name as first name. So what it will tell the web page, find the location of the element which has the name attribute, and the value of the name attribute is first name. So this much code will give you the location of that text box, first name text box, and then dot click will be performed on this location. In the next line, same thing, this will give you the location. The highlighted code will give you the location of the first name text box, and you will be performing send keys, means you would be entering any text value inside that text box. So driver.find element gives you the location of the element that you are telling the HTML code to find it. So basically you are telling the Selenium to find that element which attribute you have provided, right? Now we have gone over these three attributes, ID, class name, and name. What about link text? So link text is used for clicking on the links. Suppose we have these menu links over here, and we want to click any of these link. Then how can we do that? Either we can use the locator id as id class or name, and if that is not present, you can simply use link text. How? If let's say if I want to click on this link Selenium, right? So this is a link. For clicking on the links, Selenium provides us special way of clicking on it. Driver.find element by dot link text, and inside that link text, what you have to provide? The link text which is present here in the HTML code. Click on that cursor, click on the link on which you want to click using the Selenium or which you want to automate. The code will be highlighted in the console. Copy this link, copy this text and paste it here and use the command dot click. So this chunk of code will click on the Selenium link. Similarly, if you want to click on demo websites, how can you do that? Same way, you can use the driver.find element by dot link text and then provide the text inside this double quotes and dot click. This will click on demo websites. Alright. So link text is used for clicking on the links. Now comes the partial link text. So partial link text is used for clicking on the links which are dynamic in nature. Like you are saying this link, automation practice. Let's say, I mean, for this website, this is a static link. Its text is not getting changing, or on every refresh, the text would remain same and it would not change. So this is a static link. But let's say this is a dynamic link, and if I would refresh this page, the automation text will be something else in second refresh, and practice will remain static. So we know that the automation, the first part is dynamic and the second part of the link is static. It would remain practice, but I don't know whether automation will remain automation or will change to Selenium or something else when the page will be refreshed. So in this case, I can use the partial link text. How? Because here I know that one part of the link is static and I will make use of that part. So in this case, I will use by dot partial link text, and here which part is static? Practice. So I will give practice and I will not provide the first part of this link automation because that is dynamic. So it will find out the link, the text which is present on the page contains practice and click on it. So this way we can use the partial link text. Now comes the tag name. So tag name is like we can find or locate any web element using the HTML tag name of that web element. Like in this case, we have the tag name select. So we can, if I want to get all the options present inside this, I can locate this web element using this tag name select. How can I do that? Driver dot find element by dot tag name, which is select. Then I can use dot get all options or something like that to get all the options of this tag, right? So this is how we can use the dot tag name. Even here in the sample code, you can see an example if it's given there or not. By.xpath, no, that example is not given here. All right, no issues. Now comes the XPath and the CSS selector. So if you do not have ID, you do not have class name, you do not have name, you do not have link text, partial link text, then you have to use XPath or CSS selector. So I would recommend you to use ID, class name or name if they are present, because they are the most easiest one and most simplest ones. XPath and CSS selector are the trickier ones. But you can also, use them in a very simple way. Let's say if you want to locate this first name text box using the XPath, how can you do that? Just click on this with the highlighted cursor. So this code is highlighted now and you want to find the XPath. So XPath is of two types. One is absolute XPath and the other one is relative XPath, right? Two types of XPaths. Absolute XPath is the XPath which starts from the first element of the HTML. From HTML to the element which we want to locate. That is absolute. And the relative is we can start from anywhere in between. That does not start from the first tag of the HTML, right? Okay, let's find the XPath. Right click on this input tag, then go into the copy. Here you can see copy XPath and copy full XPath. If you will click on copy full XPath, it will fetch the absolute XPath of this first name. Let's click on it. Okay, it has fetched it. Let's paste here. Okay, you can see now. So this is the XPath. This is the full XPath, absolute XPath of this first name text box, which we have just fetched. You can use this in your code. How? The same way. Driver.find element by dot XPath in double quotes. You have to provide this XPath and then use the send keys. Right? Give any name, ABC. Alright, so this is how you can use the absolute XPath. But absolute XPath are the riskier ones. Let's say if any of the element is added in between this HTML, then this will got changed and the next time your code will not work, right? So we prefer to use relative XPaths. Right click on input tag, copy and copy XPath. Let's see what is the relative XPath. So now you can see this has not started from the HTML element. It has picked the XPath of this first element, first name text box, somewhere from in between, right, up to the input tag. So this can also be used in a similar way by .xpath and give the relative xpath dot send keys. I mean, for absolute or for relative, you have to use the by.xpath. There are no different tags for different types of XPaths. Okay. If you want to understand this XPath, then what it is saying, input, go to div 3. Mm, This is input and this is div 3. This input is child of this div. This div means there are three sibling divs, but this input is child of the third div. That's why we are reiterating the XPath input, then div 3. Okay, we got the div 3. This is the div 3. 1, 2, 3. Then who is the parent of this? Div. Then yes, this div. This is the parent of this div 3. Then div 1. Okay, after this div 3, div and div 1. Okay, you can see there are three div siblings and we are in the first one. That's why we are using div 1. And then post body. We have used the id attribute. Id post body is this slash slash star at the rate id post body is this. So we have, I mean, this has created the relative XPath from here, from this div to this input. So this will create the relative XPath from any element which has a unique ID, name or class. This has a unique ID. That's why it has created the relative XPath from this div. So here it has given the star. You can also provide it. You can also replace this star with div because this element is div, right? Div at the rate ID post body this. Then go to div 1. Then go to div 1. Here we are. Then go to div. Okay, div, and then go to div 3. Yes, we are in div 3 and then input. And here in div 3 we have the input tag. So this is how we find the relative XPath. I hope you got it. So the similar way we can also find the CSS selector also. Click on this highlighted tag, click on copy and then copy selector. This will fetch the CSS. Here you can see. So this is also similar to the relative XPath. Only the syntax is different. Here you can see hash post body. Hash means the ID. So it is creating the CSS selector from an element which has the ID post body this. Hash means ID. Then this symbol represents that this element is child of the next element. So it is representing that now go to the child of the element which has ID post body and the the element is div and nth child 1 and then go to, I mean, you can see the similar format they have used. Div nth child 1. Here we have simply given the div 1. Here we are using this nth child extra syntax along in the CSS, then div nth child 3. Here we have given the div 3 and then input. So in the similar way you can use the CSS also. You do not have to write your own CSS. You can simply got the CSS from here. Right click on the element which you want to fetch the CSS. Copy selector and just paste it. Alright, simple enough. So this is how you can use the CSS selector as well. You can see in this tutorial there are some examples given how you can use the different driver find element commands. Here are the different elements commands. So you can use the CSS using driver.findElement by.css selector and then give that CSS selector in the double quotes, and you can perform any action on that. I hope you understand the Selenium locators and how we can use them to automate using Selenium. If you like this video, please share and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.